My wife's best friend stood outside my hotel door at midnight with rain dripping from her hair, her hand pressed against her chest like she was holding her heart together, and before I could even ask why she was there, she whispered the words that shattered the life I thought I had built. She couldn't keep pretending anymore. For a moment, the hallway went silent except for the buzz of the old hotel lights and the storm tapping against the windows, and I remember thinking that whatever she was about to say would either save me from a lie or destroy the last piece of hope I had left. Her name was Saria Vale, and she had always been the one person my wife trusted more than anyone. So when she looked at me with swollen eyes and said there was something I deserved to know, I felt the floor disappear beneath me. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet strength it takes to face the truth, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Ancient Truth. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that may need them. My name is Arman Creed, and I was not a perfect husband, but I was a faithful one. I worked as a regional project manager for a medical supply company, which meant too many hotel rooms, too many airport coffees, and too many calls home where my wife, Mireya, sounded close and far away at the same time. We had been married for 9 years, long enough to know each other's silences and short enough to still believe we could become better people. Or at least I believed that. Mireya had once been the kind of woman who brought sunlight into a room before she even entered it. She laughed with her whole face, danced while cooking, and left handwritten notes in my suitcase whenever I traveled. But over the last year, those notes stopped. Her laughter became careful. Her eyes began moving past me, not toward me. I blamed myself. I blamed work. I blamed time. I blamed anything except the truth. That night, I was staying at a hotel 3 hours from home after a conference that had ended early. I had planned to surprise Mireya the next afternoon, drive back with flowers, and take her to the little garden cafe where we had celebrated our first anniversary. I had spent half the evening writing her a message I never sent, telling her I missed us, not just her. Then the knock came. Soft at first, then desperate. When I opened the door and saw Saria, I knew immediately this was not a visit someone made lightly. She was wearing a pale gray coat over clothes that looked hastily chosen, and her face carried the exhaustion of someone who had fought with her conscience and lost. She stepped inside only after I moved away from the door, and even then, she stood near the wall as if she did not deserve to take up space. She did not tell me everything at once. Pain rarely arrives in one clean sentence. It comes in broken pieces, in trembling hands, in eyes that keep asking for forgiveness before the mouth can form the words. Saria told me Mireya had not been herself for months because she was hiding something. Not an affair in the way my terrified mind first imagined, not some cruel betrayal of love, but a secret built from fear, debt, shame, and a terrible mistake that had grown too heavy to carry. Mireya's younger brother, Cashin, had fallen into gambling and borrowed money from dangerous people. To protect him, Mireya had secretly taken out loans, sold jewelry, emptied part of our savings, and lied to me every time I asked why she seemed anxious. Saria had helped her at first, believing it was temporary. But then Mireya began meeting a man named Orhan Salik, the lender who had started threatening Cashin and then turned his attention toward our home. Saria said Mireya was planning to sign over the deed to her late mother's small house by morning, believing it would keep everyone safe. She had forbidden Saria from telling me because she was convinced I would hate her for the lies. I wanted to be angry. A part of me was. I felt it rise hot and bitter in my throat, the sting of all the nights I had asked what was wrong and been told nothing, the humiliation of realizing a stranger knew my marriage better than I did. But beneath the anger was something worse, the image of Mireya alone, smiling beside me at dinner while fear sat inside her like a second heartbeat. I asked Saria why she had come now, at midnight, to a hotel so far away. She looked out the window where the rain blurred the city lights and said she had watched Mireya cry in her car that evening, clutching the house papers like a woman walking herself to punishment. Saria said she realized loyalty was not the same as silence. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is betray the lie that is killing them. I drove home before dawn. Saria came with me, not because I asked, but because she said Mireia might run if she saw only me. The storm faded as the sky lightened, and by the time we reached my street, the world had become painfully ordinary. People were opening shops. A man was sweeping leaves from the sidewalk. A school bus hissed at the corner. It was strange how daylight could make disaster look less dramatic and more real. Our house stood quiet beneath the soft morning sun, the curtains drawn, the porch flowers dry and neglected. I found Mireia in the kitchen wearing the blue sweater I had bought her years ago, sitting at the table with papers spread before her. She looked up when I entered, and the expression on her face broke me more than any confession could have. She did not look guilty first. She looked relieved, as if some exhausted part of her had been waiting to be found. There are moments in a marriage when love is not roses or promises or anniversaries. It is sitting across from someone who has hurt you and choosing not to become cruel. I wanted answers, and I got them through tears, through pauses, through Mireia covering her face and saying she had been so afraid of losing me that she kept making choices that pushed me further away. She told me Cashin had begged her not to involve me. She told me she thought she could fix it. She told me she felt ashamed because I had always trusted her with everything, and she had turned our life into a locked room. I listened, not because it was easy, but because for the first time in months, she was telling me the truth. Saria sat in the corner, silent and pale, as if every word cost her too. The hardest part came when I asked whether she still loved me. Mireia did not answer quickly. She looked at the morning light on the table, at her bare hands, at the papers that had nearly taken her mother's house, and then she said love had never been the problem. Fear had. Pride had. Shame had. She said she loved me so much that she wanted to appear strong enough for me, and in trying to appear strong, she had become unreachable. I realized then that many relationships do not collapse because love disappears. They collapse because people begin suffering in separate rooms. I reached across the table, not to forgive everything at once, but to let her know she was no longer alone in the wreckage. We did not sign anything that morning. Instead, I called a lawyer, then the police, then my company and told them I needed emergency leave. It was humiliating to reveal the mess, exhausting to untangle the loans, and terrifying to stand up to people who had survived by making others feel powerless. Cashin arrived near noon, looking younger than his 27 years, his eyes sunken, his apologies spilling out like water from a broken pipe. I wanted to blame him for everything, but blame would not rebuild what had been damaged. I told him help was not the same as rescue. If he wanted his life back, he would have to tell the truth, accept treatment, cooperate with the authorities, and stop letting the women who loved him bleed for his mistakes. For the first time, he did not argue. The days that followed were not magically beautiful. Healing is not a sunrise that fixes the night before. Mireia and I slept in the same house but not always in the same room. Some mornings, I woke with anger sitting heavy in my chest. Some evenings, she cried because trust, once cracked, does not become whole just because people are sorry. We went to counseling. We made financial plans. We sold things we did not need. We changed phone numbers. We filed reports. We faced relatives who whispered and neighbors who noticed too much. Saria stayed close, but never in a way that made herself the hero. She cooked when Mireia forgot to eat. She drove Cashin to his first recovery meeting. She apologized to me more than once for waiting so long to speak, and every time, I told her that in the end, she had chosen courage. One afternoon, about a month later, Mireia asked me to take a walk with her. It was a clear day, the kind of day that makes ordinary streets look forgiven. We walked to the garden cafe, not dressed for an anniversary, not carrying flowers, not pretending everything was fine. She held my hand carefully, like she knew it was a gift and not a right. At the table beneath the old vine-covered wall, she gave me a small envelope. Inside was a handwritten note, the first one in over a year. It said she was sorry for every silence that made me feel unwanted, sorry for every lie she had called protection, and grateful that I had chosen to stand beside her without letting her escape responsibility. It said she did not expect trust to return quickly, but she would earn it in daylight, one honest day at a time. I kept that note. Not because it erased what happened, but because it marked the first day we stopped worshipping the appearance of a perfect marriage and began building a truthful one. Saria eventually moved to another city for work, but before she left, she came to our home for dinner. There was no grand speech, no dramatic forgiveness scene, only 3 people sitting at a table that had once held fear and now held warm bread, soup, and quiet gratitude. Mireia hugged her for a long time at the door. I thanked her too, and though the words felt small, she understood. Some people enter your life to celebrate with you. Others come to your hotel door at midnight carrying the truth you were too blind to find. Those people change everything. Cashin's recovery was uneven, but real. He relapsed once, confessed it, and started again. Mireia learned to stop mothering everyone at the cost of herself. I learned that being dependable does not only mean paying bills and coming home. Sometimes it means creating a love where the truth can enter without being punished to death. We rebuilt slowly. We created new rules, not cold rules, but living ones. No secret debts. No private panic. No pretending peace when fear is screaming underneath. Every Sunday morning, we sat with coffee and talked about the things we used to bury. Some conversations hurt. Some healed. All of them mattered. Near the end of that year, Mireia and I returned to the same hotel where everything had begun. This time, it was daylight. Sun poured through the lobby windows, turning the marble floor gold. I stood outside the room where Saria had knocked that night and felt a strange tenderness for the man I had been then, tired, confused, seconds away from heartbreak and rescue at the same time. Mireia slipped her hand into mine and said she wished she had trusted me sooner. I told her I wished I had noticed her pain sooner. Neither wish could change the past, but both could soften the future. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Ancient Truth. Sometimes one act of courage, one honest confession, and one second chance can save a life from falling apart. Special request: comment, I believe in honest love, if you believe truth can hurt deeply and still become the beginning of healing. Years later, people asked us how our marriage survived, and I never told them it was because we were stronger than others. We were not. We survived because one woman refused to keep pretending, because one wife finally let herself be seen, and because one husband learned that forgiveness is not forgetting the wound, but choosing to treat it instead of letting it poison everything. The midnight knock did not end my marriage. It ended the silence that was killing it. And in the daylight that followed, we found something better than the life we had been pretending to have. We found the courage to live a real one.